So we have been able to implement use param to get the parameters that is being passed to the URL from our block, and then we can display the block details. So but what we want to do now, we want to see how we can reuse our fetch hook that we create, the custom hook that we created some videos behind. And where is that hook? This is our fetch hook. So we want to see how we can reuse this hook again to fetch this particular data that is being called. And we pass the ID down to this use effect and see how we can populate just that display the post of that particular block of that particular ID. And from our last lesson, we saw that we will be able to export these values, the data, the loading, and the error. So let's go to our block detail page and we see how we can implement that. So first we are going to do something like this, cons, and we want to take out the structured sub values from this our fetch. So use fetch. Let's see that. Okay, perfect. Import that for us automatically. Use fetch, and we have to pass in the URL that we want to use and that particular ID that we are going to get from the params. So let's go back to this block list. No, block details. No, where did we pass our value to our use params? Home. Yes. So we are going to copy this same value that we passed last time, and we are going to reuse the value inside this block details. So we put it here again, and then at the end here we have to pass in our ID, the ID that has to be coming from this use params. So we put this here and then we add a plus sign so we can put our ID. Remember that this is the ID that we are passing here so that we can make use of it again. Okay, now what are we getting from this? We are getting data. Okay, what again? We are getting loading. And what are we getting again? An error, something. Yeah, let me just double check so that I'm getting the right parameters. So data, loading, and error. Good, that's what I'm destructuring from this, so we can make use of it now inside this our block. So we have our loading, some kind of state that will tell us what is currently happening, the error if there is any error, and our data if there is a data. So we are going to be doing some kind of conditional ranging here. So we'll start with is pending. So we are going to have our temp curly braces, and we'll check if loading is true. If loading is true, we want to have this, let it render a kind of div. Close this div tag. Close this div tag. What is happening? I've not put this here. Okay, close this div tag and we render here loading. We render loading to our users, that if this loading is true, then we render this. If it is not true, then this line of code will not run completely. And then we want to check if there is any form of error. So we check, is there error? If there is an error, we want to be able to render the error to our users. Let them see that there is an error. So we come here, we make another div, and we close our div. So we have our template in here, dynamic value. So we should display our error message if we have any error. But if there is no error message, then that will not run completely. And then now we have to check, is there any data? Now we want to use data as block inside here. We want to do something like this. We want to use our data as block. So we'll check, is there a block or is a null? Remember that initially the value of this in our state is null. Okay? Initially the value is null. So we want to check, is it null? If it is null, then this piece of code will not run. But if it is not null, we'll have something like article. We'll render our article. And inside our article, we'll make our h2 tag, so that we can put something like the block title inside. So we have our template, templating. We have access to our block here, block dot title. Oopsie, sorry about that, guys. Block dot title. Yes, we have access to it. Now, after the title, we want to render again something like written by the author. So we are going to put that in a p tag. So we have something like this, written by, and then we want to display the name of the author. So we are going to take block.author. Block.author. We want to display the name of the author. And then also, one more thing that we have to add here is another div that will take the body of our post. So we'll have block dot body. Let me show you where that is coming from. So this is the body that we are trying to access. This is the author, this is the title, this is the body. So that is it. I hope we've done everything correctly, and we'll check now if we can access this ID. Let's hope. Oops, it gets it already. Let me go back, and I want this one. So check this out. It gives me this second one. Perfect. I'll go back. I'll check this one. It gives me this. I'll go back, check this last one, and it gives me this by John Doe. Are you seeing the people, the authors is giving me different posts? So we are capturing this value from here. We are capturing the value. We're capturing this particular ID that is being sent from the user's end. When we click on that link, we send that ID. Where is our home? Not home, block list, sorry. When we click on our block list, we get the ID from here, and we send the ID to this our link. Once we send it to this our link, this use param get the ID here and attach it to this thing, and then we make our fetch request from our fake API. This our fake API. We attach the ID to it and then send it to our JSON server, and then we get this all this value. We can display it like so.